There are two girls that have joined my company recently in my team. I was told to back them up, to train them, help them get familiar until official training session began for them under team leads. Owing to my fun personality, we all gelled up pretty quick. Following expert suggestions, I do try keeping official relations and personal relations away, but one of the girl, a fresher, appears to be too touchy, not in a bad way, just touchy in general. She wouldn't touch me inappropriately, but she comes too close than usual. I can sense it that she has kind of breached my personal space. Consent is off for a toss. She would often pull my hands to take me somewhere, would touch my hair, would pull my jacket to make me explain her a doubt, would bring her face too close to mine when I'm explaining her a particular process on laptop, would literally, totally lean on my chest to show dance reels of her on her phone, would touch her knees to mine, and many more. One day, I was working from home, and she was at office. We were connected on Zoom, and she was sharing her screen because I was explaining her a problem. Once the explanation was over, she asks me to look at her screen in a very soft voice. I looked, and she types on Notepad, "Do you have a girlfriend?" Now, this took me off guard because I can never even think of asking such personal questions to any of my female office colleagues. Now the problem is I am unable to decide if this is harassment or if she's just being friendly and this is her personality. Because bottom line, I'm not finding it offensive but rather adorable, yes. She doesn't touch me inappropriately. I kinda find it cute that women around me get so comfortable that they express themselves and their vulnerabilities. But the matter of consent on physical touch is also not there. I have never explicitly told her that she can touch me. I don't know how to view it. Is this wrong? Should I go ahead and file a Porsche complaint?
I guess I chose a wrong time to post this, as the sub has been overrun by people telling their stories of dreams in the light of today's gag. However, this is the only time I can think of wanting to talk about this. So here goes. It's funny to think that it's been almost 20 years since this happened. While it may be almost trivial to a reader, it made me question my belief, or the lack thereof, in religion and the spiritual world. I was in my early 20s, fresh out of college, and fancied myself a writer. I wanted to live in seclusion and chose my grandparents' house as my abode for the time being. They had been gone for almost 8 years by then, and the place had fallen into disrepair. I took upon myself the onerous of making it habitable and right while falling upon an inheritance for the time being. It should be noted that I wasn't alone per se. I did have neighbors living about a mile away. The house was just set further from them and was isolated. Writing wasn't quite as romantic as I had imagined it to be. The house was in rural northern India. Power cuts were the norm in the 90s and were pretty much crippling during the night. I spent my days writing, or thinking about it while tending to the house. The house was a huge mansion, which must have required a staff for its upkeep in its heyday. It creaked and groaned, now its master's long gone. The wintry drafts often shook the loose shingles, and rats squeaked in the walls. I was already jumpy living alone, and my imagination ran wild. This, coupled with periods of low morale and a lack of ideas, led me to take to long walks so I could coax my mind into thinking of something worth publishing. One of my favorite routes ran through the edge of some woods, merging with a country road later. Although I loved the woods, I wasn't too keen about them at night. The forest was darker in those days, and you never knew if it was a bird you were hearing or something more sinister. The country road was an unpaved dirt road between not one, but two cemeteries. They apparently were separate burial grounds for the Hindus and the Muslims. This road led to the little town where I would go to for my meals and drinks. The entire place had a strange aura at night, and in a word, was avoidable. It was one of those nights where my mind just wouldn't shut down. I tried warm milk, reading, but it was an exercise in futility, and I decided to go out for a walk. I donned a sweater and went out in the mildly chilly night. According to the phosphorus hands on my watch, it was 2 in the morning. A light rain had fallen and the place looked surreal. The leaves were laden heavy with the water. It smelled of fresh earth and was invigorating to the senses. I walked by the forest thinking about how the writing wasn't coming along and how I should be out looking for a real job. Tendrils of light mist swirled around at my feet, and I was lulled into a lazy sense of security. No birds called from the forest, and the insects too seemed to be silent that night. In retrospect, these should have been warning signs, and I should have headed straight back, but my brain had jumped into overdrive and pushed my feet forward. I crossed the road lined by the cemeteries and was almost into town when I realized I should be getting back as I had almost a quarter hour's worth of walk left. I saw a lantern bobbing up and down, headed my way from the town. I thought I could use the company and let him fall in step with me. He was dressed in the local garb, had a walking stick with him, and spoke in a lilting accent. He asked me where I lived, how come I was here, and I in turn told him about my grandparents whom he seemed to have known. He had switched off his lantern as I had my flashlight with me, although the batteries seemed to be on their last leg, and its dim yellow glow didn't do much to dispel the darkness. In the 15 minutes I walked with the man, I wasn't sure if I could see him, although I heard him properly. I felt that first shiver of fear and began to question what exactly was he doing out at this hour, and who he really was. I stopped to light a cigarette to calm my nerves, and when I resumed walking, I couldn't hear the sound of his flip-flops beating the dirt, and asked him if he was okay. He replied, "You have narrowly escaped," and his voice seemed to have taken on a gravelly quality. Gone was the lilt. My feet registered it before my brain did. I sprinted back to the house. By the time I reached, the shakes had started, and I had a stitch in my side. I never did fall asleep that night anyway. I informed a few of the locals I was friendly with, and they said it being a new moon night, it must have been some malevolent spirit. They asked me if I was whistling or humming a tune, as it is probably what attracted it to me, though the only thing that kept me safe was me lighting that cigarette. The warmth and the fire didn't let it get me. Turns out smoking did save me that night. I never did finish my book. I left the place, got a job teaching high school students in a poshish private school, and left the incident behind me, only to ponder upon it at times. I do have some more stories to tell, and would love to post those if you are interested.
So I decide to get my hair cut in India, after being there for about 1 month. I don't know much of the city, Hyderabad, however, know enough to hire a auto rickshaw and give him destinations to get around. I'm doing some shopping, getting some pictures developed. I know, non-digital camera. I was poor back then and HCL didn't give me a stipend yet. I see a typical barber shop, chairs, equipment, someone is being shaved, so I head in and wait to be seated. I don't speak Hindi or Telugu, so I'm just communicating with gestures and nods. I sit down and expect some electric shaver or something, but the old wrinkled Indian man with lots of character just starts in with the scissors, shing rapidly. Really fast, my hair is flying everywhere and he is doing a great job. It is amazing, and I'm looking out onto the street and taking in all the sights and sounds of the busy city, and I'm really enjoying this small event. Then I get slapped upside the head, and again. Vap vapoha bends my neck this way and that, ouch. WTF. This continues for some time, and I can't speak the language, so I don't know what is happening. After a while realize it's some type of massage, and after the initial shock of being beaten, I endure it, and then the haircut event is over. I realized that this was kind of typical, and while I was not injured, I was very surprised to say the least that I thought I was being abused. Winking smiley. One of the best haircuts I've ever gotten, and the massage actually felt good afterwards. I'm 22 years old, B.com, Horns, grad, and currently preparing for government competitive exams. Back in 2018, when I was in class 10th, my parents used to tell me that, just clear class 10th and then life will be easy and good. So, work hard now and enjoy later in your post-exams vacation. After giving all the exams, my parents enrolled me in coaching to prepare for Polytechnic entrance exam, which for engineering diploma, as someone told them that Polytechnic is career option. I wasted all my post-exam vacation for preparing for that stupid exam, and at the same time, all my friends were enjoying their vacation. Then I cracked that exam. I was selected for Pusa Institute of Technology, Delhi, in Civil Engineering Department. But then suddenly my parents changed their mind and I didn't take admission in it, as my parents didn't want me to do Polytechnic anymore. I still don't know why they did that. Then I took admission in a new school in class 11th in Commerce, as I couldn't go to my old school because Polytechnic exams require TC from school. Suddenly I lost touch from all of my school friends who was with for past 10 years. On the first day of new school, it feels like my life was reset and I had to go through all process of making friends all over again. That was hard time for me, and somehow, I managed that year. Then in class 12th, my parents started all over again with that same thing, that just clear class 12th and then life will be easy and good. So, work hard now and enjoy in college. And then I went through that same procedure of board exams and then preparation of entrance exam. After getting admitted in college, I had got some freedom, but my parents always had their limitations on me. And now, after completing graduation, I'm preparing for government competitive exams as my mom don't me to do a job in private sector. And they also me to do PG also. In my entire 15 years of formal education and still counting, I had given so many exams that at least for now, I don't want study further. For now, I want to go on a long vacation. But reality is that I could do that. I think I should accept my reality that my entire life will be wasted in giving exams. Those good days in which life will become easy